Hello, my crafty friends. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Linda Edwards and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm going to show you how to make this card today. Love the colors. I'm using several of the new colors from Stampin' Up! These just came out in the most recent catalog, which was released on May 2nd. There you go, there's the inside. The stamp set is also new. It's called Cheerful Daisies. It's got these wonderful stamps. We're going to do a little bit of stamping, but the main thing we're doing today is we're working with these dies. So these Cheerful Daisies dies, there are 14 in the set. You can see that I store them together in my stamp set, and we're going to use several of them today to make this card. There's a little bit of a kind of assembling, so I want to show you how to put this together. Obviously, there are a lot of different ways you can do it, but this will at least give you an idea so that if you have the stamp set, you have a place to start and give you maybe some inspiration. This card is actually inspired by a sketch, so it's kind of hard to see. There are a lot of layers. There's a layer here. Obviously, there's the designer series paper, which is also part of this suite, the Cheerful Daisies Suite. There's another layer here. There's a circle. So there's a lot of texture, a lot going on, and I think it really makes a really beautiful card for someone special. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to move the dies aside. It might be a little bit of a long video today because there is a lot of die cutting, but I wanted to make sure that you could see what you needed to see to make this card, because I think the die cutting is important to go through with you. A lot of times I'll just do the die cutting ahead of time, but I thought it would be helpful for you to actually see how it comes together. Here are all the measurements for the birthday card. And I do have the item numbers if you are looking for any of the items to make this card on your own. They're all there for you. I will also have all this information in the description for the video. So whether you're watching me on YouTube or on Facebook, go ahead and scroll down the video description and you'll see all of that information. Again, my name is Linda Edwards. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and you can find me at craftyherondesigns.stampinup.net if you would like to purchase any of these items. So the first thing we have, of course, is our envelope, and we are making this in my card class tomorrow, although actually the video won't go live until after that. So we will have made it already by the time you see this. This is the Moody Mauve, and it is cut at 8.5 by 5.5 and scored at 4 1/4, and it's, you know, your standard card base. So go ahead and fold and burnish that, and I am going to set that aside with the envelope so that I don't make a mess. The other piece is 3.5 by 3.5 of Moody Mauve, and we're going to actually die cut that with the Stylish Shapes dies. We're going to die cut a circle out of that one. So next is the Bubble Bath, which again is a fun new color. It's a really pretty pink. It's almost got a little purple in it, if I say, or like a bluish pink. It's really pretty. And I have two pieces. This one is 5 1/4 by 4, and it's a layering piece. And then when I do my card kits, when there's a piece for die cutting, I clip it a little bit because these are so close, as you can see, that you might easily mix them up. So the die cut piece, you'll need about 5.5 by 4 1/4. And obviously if you have smaller pieces, you know, you can use your scraps. And then our basic white, we have an inside layer, which is actually an inside and an outside layer. The outside layer is 5 1/4 by 4. And then the inside layer is 4 3/4 by 3.5. And I like to use this as an inside because you can get 5 of these out of one sheet of cardstock. So it makes your paper go a little bit farther. And then I'm going to show you how to squeeze in, I hope, this piece. It's 5.5 by 4 1/4 for die cutting. And again, you can get 4 of these out of one sheet of cardstock. So that's why I'll show you how I squeeze in all the die cutting out of there, because it's a little tight. And then the designer series paper, it is two-sided. And this is one of the sheets. And obviously that's where I got the colors from. And this is at 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. And then I also have another piece that's cut at 4 by 1/2 inch. And this is just the back side of that one. But I thought this Wild Wheat, this new color, was really an interesting color with this. I would not have put it together on my own, but boy, that's one of the things I love about the Stampin' Up! Designer Series paper. You can use those color combinations to come up with other cards. So I just thought that was really fun. So the other thing I am going to be using is I'm using the In Color dots. Here we go. They've got all the in colors here, which is the boho blue, the pecan pie, moody mauve, wild wheat, and pebbled path. So those are the new colors, and we're going to use, obviously, we're going to use the wild wheat. So I've got that. We're going to do some blending, and we're going to use the Moody Mauve, the wild wheat, and the bubble bath ink. So I'm going to set this aside, and let's go ahead and get started. So I think the first thing I want to do is my stamping. So let's go ahead. So this is the inside. And I'm also stamping on the envelope. So we'll do that. So I'm going to start with the Moody Mauve Ink. And the inside is Wishing You the Brightest Birthday, which is actually one of the stamps in this card, or in this stamp set, and you can see it is a photopolymer stamp. Now I usually will use a pad under the photopolymer. This background here is actually a, it's actually like a mouse pad. It's a foam, so I don't have to use the foam pad on it. And then this is one of the daisies, and this is the outline of the daisy. And I'm gonna put that down there. And I'm actually gonna also do that on the envelope. So since I've got the ink out, I'm gonna go ahead and put that together all at once. And I am going to use, there's a sentiment on the front, which I will, I'm gonna need, but I'm gonna wait because I'm gonna be doing some other die cutting, so I wanna wait and see how that all lays out before I do that sentiment. So let me just close that for a moment and put that aside. And then this is the bubble bath, which I'm going to use to layer on my, I wanna test that. You know, with new stamps, I mean, obviously I have used it, but it is good to test it. And I see this because it's a little bit juicy. And I want to make sure that it doesn't, sometimes when they're so juicy, it kind of has a mottled effect. So in order to get around that, with these brand new pads, ink pads, I'm going to actually show you a little trick. I'm going to move, this is just a plastic spoon. Oh no, did you see what I just did? I must have had some black on there from something else. Don't do that. I'll work around it, it'll be okay. Always make sure your spoon is clean. All right, so I'm gonna just move this around, kind of pushing the ink to the side so that when I go to stamp this, it's not quite as juicy. And yeah, I think it's a little better image. I don't know if you can tell the difference in those, but I can. Up close you can tell. So now this is a little tricky to line up. That's why I like to do the outline first. It doesn't have to be perfect, but that actually worked out really well. But if you can see on this daisy, there's the longer pieces, the longer petals, I should say, and shorter petals. And that's what I'm looking to line up, is I did the short petals upright and the longer petals down, and that's how I'm lining up those two pieces. So the last thing I'm gonna do here on this is I'm going to bring in the wild wheat, and there's a little bitty stamp, which is a, it's a little center. So you can kind of see. There's the center on it. But again, it's really juicy, so I'm trying to decide. I think I'm gonna stamp it off because the first just is a little too juicy to me. So let's go ahead and stamp it off. Yep, I like that better. I think it's closer to the designer series paper. Not that that matters, I just like it better. Okay, so I stamped that one off. Won't need that again. So I'm gonna set that aside. All right, so the only other bit of stamping that I have to do is the sentiment on the front. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and put my dies together for that. So the dies that I need for the, with the bubble bath are, let me think. I am actually doing this die. I have to think for a minute. What did I do? So you can see this die has several different flowers, and we can keep them together or we can separate them. And then here is the Oops-a-Daisy is going to go here. So since I'm seeing how that's going to go, I'm going to go ahead. Now I know that this is where I want to put my sentiment. So I'm going to open that Moody Mauve again, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp that. And then when I do my die cutting, I can line it all up and make sure it's straight. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's go and do the die cutting next. So move that aside, move some other things aside, out of the way, and I'll bring in my die cutting machine. And so I've got all my layers for my sandwich. Let's see if I can move that a little bit more so that you can see. And as you saw, I went ahead and lined this one up. That one's going to be pretty straightforward. Now, because this is a straight line, if you've seen any of my videos, you know that I like to make sure that they don't go straight through the cut and emboss machine. You don't want them parallel to the rollers. So I am lining that up, and I'm going to use a little bit of tape that happens to be a Post-it note to make sure that it doesn't move. It doesn't look straight. So it doesn't move when I run it through the cut and emboss machine. This doesn't matter because it's not lining up with anything in particular. So there we go. Run that through, and because there's a little bit of detail in those dies, I'm gonna run it back and forth. I think twice is enough, but let's see. Obviously it's gonna be enough for this. That's not a problem. But yep, it looks like it's good. So everything is cut out, came out really nicely. Sometimes, depending on your machine, you might need to run it through more than just, once or twice. You might need to go through several times. And then, yeah, well, maybe I will. Let's see. Let's go ahead and see how that, a lot of these are going to be covered up. But here, I'll do that after we're done because we're going to have more die cutting. So the next thing we're going to die cut is the white layer. And remember I said that for the white, I'm using that large piece, and it's cut, stitched on an angle. And I need this guy again. So I need to make sure that none of the pieces were left in between. So I'll do that. I also am going to want one of these, and I'm actually going to need two of those. So I want to leave myself some room. I don't remember. I know I had this, and I was able to do it. So let's see. Can I do it again? Yeah, that'll work. Let's see. How big can I get that guy up there? Now, it's not like I don't have other paper that I can't use, but, I like to be thrifty with my paper. So there we go. Let's do that. I don't know. We'll see. If I don't have enough, you know what is going to happen. I'll just pick up some more. Just making sure that those two pieces, it looks like that might overlap. You don't want them to overlap because it will not cut straight. I don't want to cut that side out. Okay, this is crazy, isn't it? I hope you're laughing at me because I'm laughing at myself right now. Okay. I don't know. Let's see. Let's run that through. And then I'm going to run it back. And I think I am gonna run it. No, I don't think so, because you know what? I think this one, yep, that one moved. So I don't wanna take a chance on running it through again. There we go, so we got those pieces. So you can see these are gonna layer. There are lots of little layering pieces. And that all came out beautifully. And then, now, gotta get this one out and we'll see, can I, did I leave myself enough room to do one more? Not really. So I always have lots of scrap. Oh, probably could do it, but I'm not going to. Not going to risk it at all. So I'm going to clean that off so that I can run it through again. Off my plate. There. Grab another little piece of scrap. Let's see, is that big enough? Yes. There we go. And run that one through. And I actually also have one other thing that I need to run through, and that's the circle with the die cut. So set that aside. And then, where's my, here we go. This one. This is the largest of the Stylish Shapes die circles. There we go. Okay. So, set that aside. And let's see, bring in my eye brush. This is an old one. I've had this one for quite a while. And make sure I can cut out the centers. Let's see if I can get all those centers out. This works the same way as the one we have in the catalog. The nice thing about the one in the catalog is it just attaches right to your, take your pick tool, which is kind of nice. But since I had this one already from before the take your pick tool came out, I of course just continue to use that. And then this is an old pick as well that we've had. So I've been doing this for a while. I think I started in 2014. Which is just crazy to me now to think that I've been with Stampin' Up that long. Well, I didn't sign up as a demonstrator right away. I, of course, started by going to classes. I had a wonderful neighbor who loved card making and invited me to a few classes, which, I don't know, if you're a demonstrator, you probably know it's kind of a slippery slope. Once you get bit by the card making bug, it really is kind of, it can be addictive. Let me just say it. I started with scrapbooking, like I think so many of us did back in the day when, you know, that was scrapbooking was a thing. And, you know, before, it was even before digital cameras. That was the only way to really preserve, you know, or the best way to preserve your memories. And of course, and I have 3 boys, so I started scrapbooking for them. But oh my gosh, scrapbooking. I mean, I loved it, but it just seemed like it was never done. You know, you're always taking pictures. There's always more to do, and it was overwhelming. And then when digital cameras came along, it just, I don't know, it began to feel more tedious to me. And so that's, I think, what I love about card making is that, you know, it doesn't take that long. You can do a really, I mean, this one's obviously a little bit longer, but, you know, you can make a simple card with just some designer series paper and a sentiment and at no time at all, and your project is done. I find that so satisfying. Let me know in the comments if you agree. All right, there we go. So I've got all the layers. I think that's everything I am going to need. Oh, here, I've got to take this one apart as well. But that one's easier. Okay. Okay, so we've got 2 of these. We've got these middle pieces. We've got 2 of these. Let's see, I think I have everything. I should have 1, 2. Wait, there's one thing that I'm missing here. This little guy, where did he go? What happened to you? I'm forever losing something. It's not that one. Well, maybe I forgot to die cut him. All right, maybe I did. Let's go ahead and bring another one in. Bring that machine back and do one more. All right. Now I think I'm ready. Okay, that side. Bring this back in. All right, and I'm going to show you how to layer these pieces because we're going to do a little bit of, we're going to do a little coloring on them as well. All right, so these 3 pieces, that piece, there we go. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this pink. I don't need this in the pink, so I'm going to just cut that leaf right off of there. And oh, I need another leaf. That's what I need. Good grief. All right, here we go. Cutting these apart, and there's just like a little tag you can kind of see there. And then I'm going to go ahead and clean them up a little bit. So, all those little pieces apart. And clean it up. There we go. And then this one I can leave. I'm going to take this part. Let's see, before I take them apart, I'm going to go ahead and die cut one more of these little leaves. And we're going to color. We're going to use our blending brush to color that. I could have used, I certainly could have, let's see, if I do this, I'll do it that way. I certainly could have just die cut it out of the designer series paper. I thought about that, or just out of the cardstock, but I wanted that kind of mottled look that you'll see that we'll get by using the blending brush. But that is another option for you if you don't have like the ink for some reason, or you don't want to do the blending brush. You can certainly just die cut it out of the paper. Okay, there we go. And I can leave that on there for now. And I'm going to bring in some scraps since I am going to be, scrap back in, going to be doing some coloring with those. Okay, so I've got a blending brush. I'm going to use the Wild Wheat color, which is a really kind of fun goldish color. And I am going to, I don't want it to be too strong, and I'm really more tapping and brushing it a little bit because I want it to be kind of mottled. Okay, I don't want it to be all one solid color. So I'm doing a little rubbing and a little pouncing. There you go. That's the word, pouncing. So that it gets kind of a mottled look. Okay, I think that's good. And see why I left that on there so that I could hold on to it. And then this one, actually, maybe what I should do is actually I do have to take that off because you know what's going to happen is I don't really want it to get on the white leaves. So I'm going to go ahead and take that off. And there we go. So, okay, so those two are done. And now I'm going to bring in the white, and I am going to do a little, one of the reasons I'm using the smaller blending brush, we have 2 sizes, but one of the reasons is I want to kind of just go in the center. So the smaller brush gives me a little bit more control over where that ink is going. So, and I'm just, again, going on, what would be the cones, basically, right? If this was a cone flower. So this is, it could be a daisy, it could be a cone flower, it could be a lot of different kind of flowers. And so I feel like with that center, that to me, that looks like a cone flower. Okay, so I think that's the end of that. So now we're gonna do our layering. And then all you have to do to clean that is just kind of keep wiping it until it gets clean, until the color comes off. I don't generally, I don't clean them. I don't put them under water. I'm afraid that they'll, I'm afraid that if I do that, it's gonna ruin the bristles. Okay, so now you can see I've got this is the same, right? I did same dye. I did it with the pink and the white, so I'm gonna layer these. So this pink, I am going to, I just wanted to turn it a little bit. This would be exact, and I'm just kind of turning it a little bit before I attach it. So I'm gonna attach it like that, so it's a little bit turned, to give my flower to just be a little fuller. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and bring in some liquid adhesive, and I do want it to kind of flare a little bit. I'm gonna, I don't want it to be totally flat, so I can use my thumb and kind of, pull the petals up. And then basically, let me think about this for a minute, because I don't want it to go through. You know what I need to do? I need to put it on my silicone mat. That's what I need to do, because the adhesive could go through those holes. So if you've got your silicone mat, that's the best way to do this. So I'm going to turn those, kind of watching the way I want it to. I think I want it to go about like that. So I'm going to just kind of put a little bit of adhesive, more, I don't want to go all the way to the end, because I want them to kind of, flare up a little bit. So line that up, turn it. There we go, kind of like that. There. All right, so there's that one. I'm gonna do the same thing for this one, but I can see I'm gonna have to color my pink. I just realized on this one, I'll go ahead and color the pink layer. There we go. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and do a little more color in here. I wanted both layers because you do see both layers through because of the way I kind of am angling that. So there we go. So same thing here. I'm going to kind of put it on a little bit of an angle, just a little, offset it just a little. And I'm just going to put some liquid adhesive kind of right there. And just offset that a smidge. There we go. And then this one, bring in a little more and just to the center. Okay. And same thing. I like to line it up first, then I kind of have an idea of where my adhesive is going to go. And just going to turn that a little bit that way. There we go. Okay. And now we've got another layer, and this one is just going to go on a third time. So you could just do the 2 layers, but I thought it was really kind of fun. I really liked doing that third layer. So this layer, I'm going to go ahead and also kind of, it curls a little bit naturally. Just putting the adhesive on the inside tips. And then this one, let me think, do I want to do it the opposite? I think I do. I think I'm going to curl this one kind of the opposite direction the other one went in. All right, and this little guy. So this one is kind of, see where the white is and then the pink? This would be exact, like if I layered it exactly. There we go, I like that. Kind of turning it a little bit. So you play with it and see what is pleasing to your eye, because I think there's no wrong way to do this. I do want to be able to see some of the white, so I want it to be over the pink, but there's, like I said, there's really not a wrong way to do it. Just kind of do what feels good to you when you're working on it. And this one's kind of small, so if you've got some of those reverse tweezers, sometimes it's a little bit easier to use those. And this, I am going to go ahead and really cover up some of those holes there. You won't really see them. There we go. All right. So that's the main part of the flower, and I'm going to wait to put the leaves in until I assemble the rest of it. So isn't that fun? And you can come in, especially let it dry a little bit, and you could flare your edges a little bit more, because remember, we only put adhesive on the center. So you can play around with that a little bit to give it a little bit more dimension. Okay, so I'm going to move that aside. Put that there. I think we are ready to assemble our card now. Let me close this up so that I don't stick my fingers in it and ruin my card. Okay, so let's, I think I'm going to do the inside first. So the inside has a layer of the pink, and it's just going to go like that. So I'm going to just use my liquid glue, use whatever adhesive works for you. And put that in there. And then the next layer. If you use liquid glue, just don't use too much. You don't want it oozing out everywhere. Okay, here's the inside. And then the outside, I need to burnish that one more time. Starting with a white layer, and then this layer is going to go on top of it. And I don't have any ribbon or anything, so, you know, so often I put it, does that happen to you too? You know, I put a card together and realized, oh, I forgot to put the ribbon in, and I meant to do that before I attached all the layers. So this paper doesn't really, to me, it doesn't really have a direction. I feel like it works either way, but sometimes, like to me, that looks maybe a little bit better, but I feel like it's a pretty multi-directional paper. But if you feel like, you know, again, I would just kind of pay attention to which direction you want it to go. I thought that white really, it just needed a little bit of white to pop on that Moody Mauve. So, okay, now we're gonna kind of lay it out. So I've got this, and everything is gonna be glued down. Oh, one last thing we have to do. So this piece is, I'm gonna flag the end. So I still have this, I don't even remember what it's called, but I think it's retired. But you can, so you don't, if you don't have this, this is an easy one. You just basically, you know, you just basically take your snips and go up in the center and then corner to flag the end. So if you don't have the punch, that's no worries. You just do it that way. So this is basically the sketch that I designed this card from. This was the sketch, and I'm gonna lay it all out so that I can see it. And then I added the flowers to it. So I'm kind of laying it out so that I know where I want it. And my flowers will go kind of like that. I know that I want that to show a little bit from my circle. So I'm gonna glue that down. Just because I wanted to be able to see it. And that'll help me determine where exactly to put. Yeah, actually that needs to go over a little bit more. Okay, there we go. So see how I've got a little bit showing here and a little bit showing there. So that's how I want that to line up. And then this piece, you're not gonna really see the top because it's gonna be covered. But I do want it to kind of come down. So I think that is going to be where I'm going to put that one. So kind of eyeballing it. I like to lay it all out first. It doesn't have to be exact. But now I kind of have an idea of where I want it to go. I was kind of watching about how far over from there it was. And now I can go ahead and attach this layer. And I didn't pop any of this up because the daisies are all going to be popped up. I didn't want the card to have so much dimension that I couldn't mail it. So this would be, you know, somebody, if you miss their birthdays, you know, I'm really good about making cards, but I don't know what it is. Sometimes I have a hard time remembering to send them. Does that happen to you? All right, here we go. I want this to be kind of here. So again, I'm kind of just looking at where I want these pieces to go. This is going to come up here. I guess I did want that up there, right? I'm trying to make sure that it's not going to, that these other additional pieces are not going to stick outside of the card. So that when I put it in the envelope, it will all work. All right, so those little pieces, I know I want that. I don't, you know what I think I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get rid of this piece. Because I don't want it to interfere with my sentiment. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of adhesive there, stick that down. And it's gonna be covered up with another piece. So that's why I know I can just kind of adhere it, because the other way to do it is to go ahead and stick it directly to the back of this piece, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm doing it this way. Just lots of different ways to show you how to do some things. All right, put that down. Again, I know it's going to be covered up by this guy. All right, so I'm going to put some dimensionals on here because that's how I'm going to do this. And you do want to kind of watch, because you'll see the dimensionals through the holes. See how those holes are there? So I'm kind of watching where I can put these dimensionals so they won't be seen on the inside of the card. I might bring in some smaller dimensionals as well. And I will put in one there and maybe one more here. Yeah, maybe one more little one here. Okay. And then this guy is going to come right up there. So again, now you could use glue dots with this too. Glue dots or liquid adhesive. Again, I know it's going to be covered up, so I'm not too worried about it showing. And then this one, I know I want kind of right. Oops, not worried about it showing, but I do need it to stick, don't I? Okay. And then this, like that. Okay. And then here we are, we're almost done. I am going to use a little bling because, you know, it's nice to have a little bit of shiny stuff on every card. You could use Wink Stella to give a little sparkle if you wanted. God, did you see what I just did? You guys are probably going, turn it around, something's wrong. Oh my gosh. All right, here we go. What do you think? Right there? All right. So I hope that helps you in a couple of different ways. One, you know, a new color combination, a new stamp set, but also maybe sharing a little bit of the process for how to design the card and how to do the layering, you know, of those daisies. I mean, there are several different ways to do that. That just gives you one idea, but I just thought it would be fun to show you some different ways to use the stamp set. So I think, you know, the last one I did the yellow in the center. I'm gonna try that. Oh, I kind of like that. What do you think? There we go. Oh yeah, I like that too. I'll bring the original one in so you can see. And I think I'm gonna put just a little bitty one, maybe down there. There you go. Here's the first one with the yellow, the wild wheat. Oh, I like them both. I don't know. I don't know, maybe a little Wink of Stella on this guy would be fun too. So there you go. I hope again that you've had some fun with me today. Thanks for joining me. And if you sign up to follow me on Facebook or on YouTube, if you sign up for my channel to subscribe, then you'll be notified when I post additional videos. And I do have some more videos coming next week. Again, I do card making classes in my local neighborhood, and so then I share the videos afterwards. If you're in the Greensboro, Georgia area, I would love to have you join me for a card class. We have a lot of fun. It's a great way to spend an afternoon and to make some new friends. And but if you're not, I'm glad you're joining me right now to do this card. So bye for now. Have a great rest of your day.